Hello everyone, my name is David O'Neill and I'd like to welcome you to Small Stages, Big Sounds. Episode 1, Setting the Scene. I'm a lifelong music fan and contributor to the website Uberrock. I write album reviews, do gig reviews. I also do gig photography for them. You can see Nita Strauss and Alice Cooper in these images of mine. However, while the UR team cover international artist reviews, we recognise there would be none of these if they had not started out in a local grassroots music venue many years ago. These are close to our ethos, and many of our reviews are of new artists and small venues. Each week I'm going to briefly look at the music news, look for any upcoming album and music releases, and tours for each region of the UK. I'm going to look at some of the facts and figures about large venues and small venue gigs around the UK. This week it's going to be South Wales. I'm going to highlight an easy way to find grassroots venues with a new website that's been supported by the Music Venue Trust. In future episodes, I'm going to speak to artists, promoters, journalists, venue owners and others in the industry to try to find out how we can encourage people to support grassroots music venues, and I already have several lined up. After all, everyone has to start somewhere. Remember, no small stages, no next big sounds. Firstly, here at Uberrock, we would like to wish Doug Aldrich a speedy recovery from his recent surgery, and also Jaron Johnston best wishes for his mental health and well-being after the Cadillac 3 cancelled the rest of their 2024 gigs. In a recent interview in Mojo News, Dave Gilmour has announced that he won't be playing Another Brick in the Wall, Money and Run Like Hell when he tours in the autumn of 2024-2025. However, Comfortably Numb, Wish You Were Here and Shine On You Crazy Diamond will still be in the set list. His latest album, Luck and Strange, is available to order and on all streaming platforms now. Iron Maiden also announced the Run for Your Lives tour, 27 gigs around the world to celebrate 50 years as a band. 5 shows are in the UK and Ireland, with West Ham fan Steve Harris extolling the virtues of the London Stadium gig, West Ham's home ground. They're supported by the Raven Age, who are currently on tour with Apocalyptica. A review of the Cardiff gig will be coming on Uberrock in a few days' time. The Darkness have announced a new album entitled Dreams on Toast and a UK tour for early 2025. If you haven't seen them live, you really should. They are excellent value for money. Kentucky rockers Blackstone Cherry are returning to the UK where they're Screaming at the Sky tour in November. I'll be covering the Cardiff gig. Blues guitar maestro Joe Bonamassa has a 5-gig UK tour in 2025. The Cardiff one is piquing my interest, and he's recently been playing in Belfast as a tribute to Rory Gallagher. Scottish rockers King are touring. Another blues singer-songwriter, guitarist Samantha Fish, is touring for the 3rd time in as many years, with another 10 UK dates, supported by the Zach Schultz gang. Each week, we'll be looking at the grassroots music scene around the UK on a regular rotation. This week, as I've said, we will be looking at the music scene in South Wales. The big regional news this week is the purchase of Swansea's venue, the Bunkhouse, by the Music Venue Properties arm of the Music Venue Trust, securing the venue's long-term future. Whilst many people only go to large stadium and arena concerts, at Uberrock we recognise that without grassroots music venues, stadium and arena gigs will not exist in the future. I'm going to start with a review of the bigger venues across South Wales before concentrating on the grassroots music venues across the area. The large music venues in South Wales include the Principality Stadium and various arenas. The Principality Stadium is the biggest venue at 70,000 plus, but this runs renowned international artists as well as other events such as rugby, surprisingly. In 2024, the music performed at the arena included Bruce Springsteen, Pink, the Foo Fighters, Billy Joel, and of course, Taylor Swift. The Utilita Arena in Cardiff is an indoor arena with a 5,000 capacity venue that regularly hosts international artists and other events around the year. Swansea Arena opened in 2022 and has a capacity of 3,500 and has hosted UK and international artists as well as other events. To give you an idea of the costs, if you imagine the announcement of the recent Oasis tour, the Principality Stadium capacity of 74,500 with the minimum ticket value of £138 per person will amount to around just over £10 million. That's without food and drink takings, etc. If 74,500 people each have 2 drinks at £7 to £8, merchandise and t-shirts cost around £40, hoodies cost around £85, and the venue takes a percentage off these as well. If only 40,000 people buy a t-shirt, that's another £1.6 million. And if the rest buy a hoodie, that's nearly £3 million. That's another whopping bonus added to the takings from one venue. I admit though that it's not all profit, as these gigs are not cheap to run. However, apparently, going back to Oasis, they have sold 1.2 million tickets for their upcoming tour next year. Even at face value, that's £165 million in ticket sales alone. Add on the merchandise, increased music sales, increased streaming revenue, well, the numbers become eye-watering. The arena concerts around the region include Steve Hackett returning to the Utilita Arena to perform more Genesis tracks and also his solo back catalogue. Blackstone Cherry are also at the Utilita in November. More information can be found on the respective venue websites or on the artist's own website, and some of these images are ones that I've previously taken at other gigs. Each week we will look at music news for the other regions. The next week, will be Northern Ireland. Music for grassroots music venues in South Wales will be highlighted, as will some statistics later on. The costs of putting on large gigs includes arena hire cost, equipment hire cost, set-up and take-down costs for that equipment, staff costs, policing costs, advertising costs, etc., etc. So these are not cheap, and whilst those numbers just proposed appear eye-watering, it's a reality that they're not as extensive as you'd imagine. There are various festivals that occur around South Wales throughout the year. In November and February, Planet Rock hosts Rockstock and Winter's End in Porthcawl. These are showcases for new and established rock artists that are generally always sold out. In July, Steelhouse Festival is in Ebbw Vale. It also supports local up-and-coming and international artists, as well as established classic rock artists. Blackstone Cherry, Europe, Saxon and Skindred have all headlined there in the past few years. I will be talking to the organisers of this festival in a special later episode. In August, there's a small festival in Chepstow called Castle Rock, and it covers a similar rock format to those already mentioned. There's also Green Man Festival on the outskirts of Crickhowell, if you like a more eclectic style of music. However, going on at the moment is Cardiff City Music Festival. It is an annual event that runs for 3 weeks, and this year from the 27th of the 9th to the 20th of October. It incorporates all styles of music across all the different venues in Cardiff. It also facilitates new artists as part of the award-winning Soon, spelt S-W-N because it's Welsh, festival. So what is a grassroots music venue? These are some key sector statistics. There are 835 grassroots music venues in the UK currently. They've had over 23.5 million audience visits, with 187,000 events in the year 2023. 1.6 million individual artists performed. It employs over 28,000 people. However, many of these venues have seen an almost 40% increase in their rent. The total value of the sector is £501 million, but the profit margins are extremely tight, with many margins highlighting profits of 0.5%. However, the total contribution of grassroots music venues to live music is £114,800,000, so it's not an insignificant arena. The Music Venue Trust, in its annual report in 2023, identified grassroots music venues as having different capacities. Less than 350 would be small ones, 350 to 650 would be medium-sized ones, and greater than 650 and less than 1,000 would be the large ones. Their primary business is the promotion of unsigned or independent artists, with alcohol sales and other aspects being subsidiary. To show the demise of grassroots music venues, in 2005 there were greater than 3,000. So with the current statistics as being less than 850, you can see that it is closing faster than it is opening, and they're currently closing at a rate of 1 per week. For example, to look at the Welsh aspects of the grassroots music venues, there are only 48 grassroots music venues highlighted in the Music Venue Trust report in Wales, but there were 1.2 million gig goers, with greater than 10,000 events in 2023. 96,000 artist performances occurred in these venues, with over 1,500 people employed in the sector, and it contributed £24 million to the Welsh economy. However, as said previously, the profit margin is less than 0.5%. In looking at the location of the majority of grassroots music venues, of the 48 that are in Wales, the vast majority appear to be in a triangle that covers the area from Merthyr Tydfil across to Swansea and over towards the English border. I tend to call this the Taft Triangle. To give you an idea of the importance of grassroots music venues, the Beatles' first gig was in the Jacaranda Club in Liverpool, not the Cavern Club as most people think. Thankfully, both are still open. Interestingly, going back to Oasis, of the 34 venues that they played on their first tour, only 11 still exist. Every week I'll be talking to Uberrock contributors from around the UK to find out what's happening in their area as a regular feature. Starting with Wales, then Northern Ireland, North West England, generally Liverpool and Manchester, the south of England, in the Bournemouth, Southampton area, and our international gigaholic who lives in the Netherlands. I'm also going to talk with a variety of people in the industry, from artists to promoters, venue owners, record shop owners, and record company staff if I can arrange this. There have been some historical venues, and I know I've mentioned the Jacaranda Club and the Cavern Club in Liverpool. In the South Wales area, TJ's was very famous during the 70s to the 90s, and Oasis actually played there in a gig in 1994. During the era of Cool Cumbria, Catatonia, the Manic Street Preachers, even Green Day, Iron Maiden, Muse and Skunk Anansie also performed there. Unfortunately, its owner died and the venue eventually closed and has gone into disrepair. Welsh rock music is currently on fire. Those Damn Crows have just completed a German arena tour supporting Bosie on Celts and a headline in the Utilita Arena in Cardiff in December. Their second album charted quite well in January. Florence Black have also toured Denmark, Netherlands, Germany, Austria, France, Belgium and Switzerland in the past few months, and are headlining Planet Rock's Winter's End Festival in January. Cardinal Black have played in LA, Nashville and all around the UK, and have a second album in the pipeline and are currently touring the UK and supporting Miles Kennedy on his European tour. Scarlet Rebels have started a UK tour and have had their second album in the UK chart, and I'll be speaking to them on a later episode. How do you find what local venues are close to you? Their Facebook page, website, word of mouth, other social media? What about other venues in the area that you may not be familiar with? The Music Venue Trust has partnered with hereby.com, which lists all the grassroots music venues not only in the UK but also in the US. We've also been given permission by the creators of hereby.com to link to it as part of this podcast and on our website, and we'll return to it every week with the other regions. You can search for a venue, a range of dates and individual artists. You can also create an account, which is free, which happens to be my favourite price, that will notify you of any upcoming gigs in your area, or even in venues nearby that you wouldn't visit regularly. Finding gigs is really as easy as hereby, or maybe by here in Wales. You can find your scene, you can discover bands, you can explore venues, and you can search any grassroots music venue. So, what has led to the demise of local music scenes? Well, long-established artists are no longer touring or are finishing touring, and these haven't supported grassroots music venues for a long time. Kiss, Aerosmith, Magnum, Uriah Heep are all finished touring or about to. New bands find it difficult to get exposure and disbanding as a result. Touring is expensive. Fewer venues in close proximity adds to touring cost. Fans are reluctant to go to gigs for unknown bands, making touring uneconomically viable. Streaming services pay peanuts to artists, but it does get them a way to be heard. So, going back to the theme of this, small venues, big sounds, bands I have seen in small venues that are gaining traction include the previous ones, that is, Those Damn Crows, Florence Black, Cardinal Black, Scarlet Rebels, to name a few. Earlier this year, Blackstone Cherry played in the Fleece in Bristol and other small venues around the UK in recognition of the part they played in their rise to fame and fortune. Some bands that I have seen locally that should have gone on to bigger things include Everyday Heroes, Bigfoot and Thea, all of which have now disbanded. Bands that deserve to go on to bigger things include Beth Blade and the Beautiful Disasters, who are finally playing Rockstock in November at last. Dead Man's Whiskey, who played at Steelhouse last year, who I saw play in Fuel about 5 years ago and absolutely blew me away then, more so at Steelhouse. Trucker Diablo from Belfast I've seen a few times, and they are also about to release another album. Many more of these bands just need the encouragement of bigger crowds taking a chance at their local venue. Keep it local, keep it live. Unless you support local venues when you don't know the band, you may never get to see the next big thing for a few quid. If you do go to support your friend's band, start early, stay late. You never know what you'll miss out on if you don't. After all, I saw Cardinal Black on their first gig as early support band for Those Damn Crows. They blew me away then, and they continue to do so now. As a result, venues are likely to close as their profit margins are so tight now. No venues equals no new music. Today's new music is tomorrow's supergroup. Feed the roots. Keep grassroots music venues alive. That, for argument's sake, £1,500 that you may have spent to watch the last supergroup once could probably support your attendance at your local venue all year by the time you add in hotel costs, transport costs, plus the ticket costs and everything else. It's not an insignificant amount of money to spend to see one band. If you don't feed the roots, there will be no one at the top of the tree in years to come. Next week, I'll be discussing the music news and grassroots venues music scene in Northern Ireland with Mark Ashby, aka Monk, the editor and owner of Uberrock. Remember, use hereby to find out what's by here. You can contact us at uberrockcast@gmail.com if you're in a band, a venue owner, a music promoter, even record company or PR manager, if you'd like to discuss grassroots music scene in future episodes. To give you an idea of the small stages, big sounds around South Wales for October and November, This month's small stage big sound event for Wales is the colourful female quartet The Hot Dam, who are launching their album in Tiny Rebel in Cardiff, a venue of less than 100 people. The medium-sized venue events are Samantha Fish in the Tram Sheds and King in the Globe in Cardiff. The new discovery event for me goes to Bywater Call, a Canadian blues roots band also playing in the Globe in October. Reviews and images from these will be on Uberrock in the coming weeks. I'm David O'Neill, and you've been listening to or watching Small Stages, Big Sounds. Catch you next week on episode 2, discussing the music scene in Northern Ireland with the head honcho from Uberrock, Mark Ashby. Remember, feed the roots or the leaves at the top of the tree die. No small stages, no next big sound.